is the foundational Black American God, Pan-African. We got to talk about that. It seems to be whole lot of hypocrisy. You see, a whole lot of hypocrisy going on. You see, a whole lot of cosplaying and a whole lot of tethering going on. We got to talk about this, and I keep bringing this up because it's right and exact. And if anybody could tell me I'm wrong, please explain to me where I'm wrong at. Now, I don't want nobody to hesitate to correct me and adjust me if I'm wrong. You feel what I'm saying? And because they Christians. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. They're Christians. And if you understand the Bible, which obviously you don't, understand the Bible, because if you did, you wouldn't be saying the things you're saying. You wouldn't be saying the things that you're saying. And so I see a lot of people, they they go to church. You're in church, you praising the Lord, you're doing all that. And then you come and get on the videos and then you say, we're not African, we're not this, we're not that. But you worshiping, for all intents and purposes, an African God. That's really what you're worshiping, because that's all the God of the Bible is. Because we already know the story, and the story is, and Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. And when you understand that the Israelites, and that's what the book is about, but do you understand that if you got to read the book, you got to read the book, and if you read the book, there's no way you could get around the fact that the incubator for the Bible was in Africa. That's what it was. The incubator of the Bible was in Africa. You see, and the greatest of the prophets were raised in Africa. Now, Moses was raised as the Pharaoh's grandson. So you mean that? So ain't no way that man could be raised as the Pharaoh's grandson and not look like the Pharaoh. Let's make that make sense. You feel what I'm saying? Let's make that make sense. So Moses, who was the greatest prophet in the Bible, hands down, he is the greatest prophet in the Bible, bar none. If it was not for Moses, you wouldn't even have no Bible. You wouldn't have no Old or New Testament or Quran. So you got three of the world's major religions, founded on that one man who was educated in Africa. You see? And so the question is, people say, oh, we're not Egyptian, we're not African, but you worship a religion, you venerate a religion that really, when we did, what the word, that for all intents and purposes, that's what I was trying, for all intents and purposes, is African. So I'm trying to, it's like are you confused about that? You're supposed to be worshiping foundational Black American religion. This is a religion that's, obviously was indigenous into Northeast Africa, what they call the Middle East today. So not only was Moses raised and educated in Africa, Egypt is in Africa. All you have to do is look at a map. So the greatest prophet of the Bible was raised in Africa. Not only that, the Israelites lived in Africa for over 400 some odd years. The Israelites had already lived in Africa over 300 and some odd years before Moses was even born. So when you look at the Bible, when the Bible opens up, the garden of the Lord, this is your Lord that you're talking about, that you pray, and it says that this is the garden of the Lord, which is in Ethiopia. It says that clearly in Genesis chapter 2, that that this was in the land of Ethiopia. Clearly, you see. And so when you look at Genesis, it opens up in Ethiopia. It ends in Egypt with Joseph and the death of Jacob, who was called Israel. Jacob was called Israel. So the death of Jacob ended Genesis. So it opens up in Ethiopia. It ends in Egypt, Africa. Then Exodus also opens up in Egypt. So, I mean, right there show you that the incubator of the Bible is Africa. And then also you had Jesus, who was, according to the New Testament, the Son of God. We can get off into the other, esoterical, but that's not for this lesson right now. So the Son of the Most High, when he was under the threat, wait a minute. Yeah, that's flawed too. It don't make no difference. But you a hypocrite because you talking about you're not African, but you worship technically an African religion. You see what I'm saying? It's technically an African religion because everything that they got from Africa. They got from Egypt and they got from Ethiopia. It's very clear. When you look at the book, even the Canaanites, which were African people, after they left Egypt, they went from one African nation to another African nation. Jerusalem, Jebus, is named after a Canaanite, which is a Hamitic, which is considered the patriarch of the African tribe. And when Jesus was sought after, and as a baby, that Herod, who was a tyrant ruler of Palestine at that time, and when he heard that Jesus had been born, according to the prophecy, that means he's gonna be, he's gonna take over. That's what the prophecy said when the Messiah would be born, that he would technically take over as the ruler. So Herod was in fear of that. So when he heard, when the three wise men came and they said, where's the child? Then they say, what child? They say, we seen his star in the east. We come here to worship him. And it brought fear for all those tyrant, rabbis and the fake Herod and all of that. And so they say, hey, when you find that baby, come back and give me word so I can come and worship too. But God came to them in a dream and say, man, don't go fucking with Herod. You go back to your land another way. And so before they left, they told Joseph, but they speak esoterically. They say, God came to Joseph in a dream and say, get up and take the baby and the mother into Egypt. Flee into Egypt. Flee into Africa. So, I mean, and when you think about it, Egypt at that time was under the same colonization as Palestine. You see, they were, at that time, they was under the rule of the Romans, both Egypt and Palestine. So you can't flee from Palestine into Egypt and be able to hide unless the people look exactly like you. So they say you go and flee because you got millions of black people in Egypt. They're going to look out for you. So they took the Holy Family in and they hid the Holy Family. So you see right there, that's an act of Pan-Africanism. When another African nation looks out for another African from another nation, that's Pan-Africanism, in action. What y'all talking about out there ain't no goddamn Pan-Africanism. Y'all don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. None of y'all. You see, I can speak for it, and at any point in time, any one of y'all want to work out, I can show and prove exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, for the sake of me, I cannot understand how the hell y'all talking about y'all not African and this, that, and then go to church and technically venerate and worship an African religion that takes place in Africa. You're in a state of confusion. You're in a state of confusion. Where's your FBA? Why haven't y'all delineated from that African religion? You see, in the Bible, and I'm going to end it, it says, are ye, talking to the Israelites, are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me? You see, are ye, the Israelites, how's it go? Are ye not as the Ethiopians unto me? This is what it's saying. So it means that the Israelites was likened unto the Ethiopians. That's what it says. So I don't know where y'all going with that. Moses, all of these, live in Egypt and technically look no different than an Egyptian, which is an African. But you can venerate this God that y'all call Jesus and then turn around and talk about we not African, we not Pan. But what are you doing with an African religion? I'm trying to figure that one out. But anyway, get with me, family. Click that link down there, Patreon. Get over there. I got tons and tons of materials, man. Blow your mind. I got something for you on every level. You see what I'm saying? Believe that. General Seti, Etsy, OneStopKingSeti.com. And if you on here, like that video. Share that with your family and friends. And you see, and get back with me. I'll be right back. Black Pop.